Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, this is 1972's Sex in the Comics. 1972's Sex in the Comics. And this is put out by Vinegar Syndrome, comic strip Sex, a Nostalgic X. Sex in the Comics was directed by Anthony Spinelli, and I think it says also Bob Godfrey. And this is quite a unique world right here, folks. This is quite a unique X-rated film. I got to tell you, it's completely inspired by the 8-pagers, the Tijuana Bibles, or the dirty comic books. Wow. Let's get into this movie. This is truly something special that needs to be talked about more. Sex in the Comics. I have some notes written here, and so you can see my eyes divert a bit. Right from the get-go, at the beginning of the movie, we see some sexual, amazing spoofs of Mad Magazine's character, Alfred E. Newman. It almost kind of has this Looney Tunes, a distorted sexual Looney Tunes start to the movie. Zany cartoon music. Great names in the credits, the opening credits of this film, by the way, so keep your eyes peeled, even for the director pseudonyms. But there's a girl's name like Clara Clitt, Clitt. We also have the opening credit names, by the way. You could just spend some time just looking at those names. It's amazing. We also have relaxing acoustic guitar music in the mix as well, which was interesting. And this is essentially almost a comic book anthology film where all the myriad of comic book come to life stories have a wraparound story of a gentleman who's a bit of a expert on these dirty comic books from way back when, and he's telling a reporter in his office. And that's the wraparound story. And we get a bit of history, too. I don't know how much of it is true or real, but we do get a bit of history. We look at the World War and the conservatism of the World War and the influence of France and alcohol in bringing more freedom with sex in America. It's very interesting stuff. We even get some footage, some kind of archival footage of from way back when with the World Wars and all through history as the movie goes on and continues to tell the story of these Tijuana Bibles. We also get some barbershop music in the mix. I got to tell you, the sets in here, you have to understand, these individual kind of anthology dirty comic books come to life, which is the meat of the film, are done by real actors looking like comic books. And the sets, I mean, there should be awards for these sets. They're simple, but they're freaking weird because everything is drawn. I mean, it looks like this low-budget, bizarre comic book, like from the 50s or something. It's colorful, and they're weird, and they're drawn in completely behind them with crazy makeup. Just like in the comic books, the guys have these huge eyes. Yeah, some of the guys have these huge eyes, and it's really weird and bizarre. The makeup that they have to make them look like comic book figures, and most of the time, large fake penises, just like in the comic books. Sometimes real penises, but all the time real vaginas and breasts from the women. We have an interesting element of, I guess, in a way of showing the comic book frames changing. We have freeze frames. All of a sudden, the action will freeze and go to the next scene, and that's I guess the way it's kind of showing the comic book panels in a way. And as I mentioned before, huge penis props in this movie, huge dick props. We have. I got to tell you that the individual, and there's tons of them, the comic book scenes of this film, I find hilarious. They're well written. They got great punchlines, and they're dirty and they're outrageous. It almost reminded me a bit of that cartoon adult film that I looked at on this YouTube page, Once Upon a Time, I believe it's called, or something like that. I'm blanking on the title right now, so it was worthless for me even to say that. But I think you might know what I mean. It was put out by Severin, and it's an animated adult film that I looked at on this page. But it really has great outrageous humor in here. Like there's a section where a guy's having intercourse with a girl, and his large penis goes all the way up through her mouth, and it comes out of her mouth. We have stories about contraceptives. We have just very comical dialogue that sounds like it's straight from an old dirty comic. Um, a guy going down on a girl with a huge nose, and then he later on has a bloody nose. I mean, just crazy humor like this. A lesbian scene with dildos, and the one woman's playing a man, so she keeps putting on a fake mustache. I mean, it's hilarious. It's awesome. We got carnival music in the film, and also sex at a carnival as well. Um, there's just amazing stuff in here. A penis pulling out of intercourse, and it pulls out also all the hair from the woman's vagina, so all the hair is around his penis. I mean, this is crazy stuff. We got jokes about large vaginas in the movie. And the wraparound story, as the reporter is asking questions, she went in there to ask a question, I guess, about his drawn character that he's known for. This comic book artist gentleman, Pinky the Cat, which almost reminded me of like Felix the Cat or something. And so, you know, it was this wraparound story is kind of taking. She's trying to learn about his character, but it's you know, it's the kind of thing where he's teaching her everything about history of comics. We learn about the Depression, and during the Depression, they were doing dirty comics based on real comics. We have big band music in here. We have a guy losing his ring in a woman's vagina and then pulling out a bunch of rings from other lovers, including lots of women. Where's my ring? Just these crazy gags that are really well written. We get POW images on the screen, like comic book frames, like POW when there's a fight. We look at the Hollywood casting couch in one of the stories. We get old Hollywood music in the movie. Dirty drawings on the walls that almost act as panels within the storyline itself. Landlord sex in the movie, and definitely lots of themes of spouses cheating on their significant other, mostly men cheating on their wives, but also wives cheating on their husbands. Lots of one-liners in this movie. We also have slutty wives in the movie as well. We have banjo music. The element of voyeurism is in the stories. Black eyes, somebody gets punched and there's just black makeup around their eye. It just looks so legit. I could see people watching this movie and be like, oh, this is just low budget, you know, porno garbage. Couldn't be anything other than that. I mean, this is it's fantastically artistic, without a doubt. We even riff on Groucho Marx a bit, as the wraparound story main guy who's talking to the reporter. Things start to evolve in the way he's dressed and in the way she's dressed as the movie goes on, which is interesting. We look at the theme that sex is an escape from reality, and sometimes war-torn reality, and the violence and poverty of everyday life. We look at the illegal publishing of these dirty comics, but how they were anonymous, and that one of them was even run by 3 lesbians. And like I said, I don't know how true some of this history is on the Tijuana Bibles, but we have riffs on Dick Tracy. We have angry, funny sex dialogue in this movie. And I say it's angry, it's funny, and it's during sex. Lots of dirty talk in this movie using the words cunt and, you know, dick and all of that. I mean, lots of dirty talk in here. We have funky, groovy 70s music that erupts in one particular scene. We used fast motion also in the movie. We have a bizarre, just really bizarre, seemingly a girl queefs smoke, I guess. It's crazy. We have a great line from a character. He says, "Take some lessons in sucking cunts." And during sex, as the woman is on top of the guy, he screams at her, quote, "Don't yell in my fucking ear," end quote. I mean, this is a great party movie. This is a wild, outrageous movie. There are so many comic strips within this film, like the stories of the movie. There's so many, and they're so short that I mean, your attention, you're going to be entertained completely. We look at condoms and I think French ticklers. Um, this guy named Major Hipple, he has a lot of comic stories in the movie. He's a comic character that gets repeated. We have a fight that happens during sex with the guy's penis out and he's about to throw down. We have sex in Hawaii. We have lots of the phrase "hard on" used in the movie. We have a theme of class in the film. You know, a classy lady. What makes somebody classy? And they riff on that, which kind of ties into if the history is correct, on the Tijuana Bibles, the dirty 8-pagers, where, you know, they were dirty to satirize the conservatism and how far could you go in an everyday society. It kind of goes with that, I guess. We have title cards for every comic strip, by the way. Great fonts. So you're getting a movie with multiple title cards in the same film. We have somebody referring to anal sex. I mean, you don't see it up close. I think it might be simulated, but anal sex as the dirt road. We also have a nice a comical mix-up between a mouse hole in a woman's apartment and her vagina hole. Characters talking to the camera, just like you're looking at a comic strip when the character in the comic strip looks at you and talks to you. Old porn, that the old pornography was drawn on walls. You know, it was drawn on walls, you know, before there was, you know, print. And even maybe some of the military, before there was Playboys and penthouses, maybe they were drawing on the walls of their cabins naked women, you know, that they would masturbate to or be aroused by. An interesting theme in the film is, in history, is the relationship between American wars and porn. And then we go to the 70s in history, and they said that in the 70s, these Tijuana Bibles weren't as popular because people were actually living it. So why would they want to just look at these comics? And the interesting note was that, you know, the only people that were into the comics at that point in the 70s were old people. You know, the old people that were young when they were looking at the comics, or the ones making the comics, old. The youth, they were all doing everything those comics were fantasizing about. They were doing that in their everyday life. So that was an interesting little tidbit from the 70s there. And we have great documentary footage of hippies and things like that. We got gunplay in the stories. Females raping men in the stories. Riffs on Betty Boob. Ukulele playing during sex. That was insane. We have some organ music in the soundtrack as well. And we have a scene where a penis and a vagina before sex sing a duet. This is crazy stuff. It might be one of the craziest movies, definitely. Now, there's no ejaculation scenes in this film, by the way, and the sex scenes are short, but they're real. I mean, there's real insertions, there's real stuff going on. Lots of the insertions are fake penises, which is really weird, but real oral. So it's the real deal. There's just short sex scenes with no ejaculation. There's a great line that a character says in the movie where he says, "If you don't pay your bill, I'll shit on your floor." It's a hilarious scene. It's witty, funny, well written, and it's dirty funny. There's also an innocent vibe to it too, amidst the dirtiness. As the movie goes on, it just gets more and more outrageous, by the way, folks. And we have this one strip about infertility issues, and that the relationship between infertility issues and small penises, and synthetic pregnancy utilizing a man's sperm and a straw, a drinking straw, inserted into a woman's vagina. I got to tell you. And then all of a sudden, homosexual sex, which is simulated. Buck Flower, was that his name? His daughter Veronica was in summer school, aka Mag Wheels. Buck Flower, George Buck Flower, whatever. He's in here, just like he was in a ton of X-rated films from Storefront Theater Collection for Vinegar Syndrome, and just tons of 80s horror films and tons of stuff. This is the first time I ever saw him naked. not having sex, but he's a flasher in the movie. There's 70s music in here. There's a twist ending that's pretty wild. There's a hand coming out of a woman's vagina. There's a large penis sculpture and three women around it. I got to tell you, the end of this movie, which includes that stuff I just mentioned, is a montage of total insanity that reminds me of like the Benny Hill TV show. It's madness. This film, as it goes on, you start to say, "Oh, okay, I see the structure. I'm understanding the structure of the movie. I'm getting the structure of the film," and then all of a sudden, it's like the more a minute goes, every time another minute goes by as you're watching the movie, it just gets more and more off the rails. And in the last 5 minutes of the movie, it's completely batshit crazy off the rails. And this montage is insane. You know, people coming out of a woman's vagina, homosexual jokes, vagina jokes. It's madness. And it is literally like you just went into a crazy Roger Rabbit, Looney Tunes, X-rated world roller coaster that is completely going off the rails. This is Sex in the Comics from 1972. Right here, folks. What a trip this is. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like Sex in the Comics. Thank you so much, and good night.